What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic, and this video is a quick comparison, not between these two products. I just had these two handy lying around. One is a protein powder, the other is a mass gainer, but it's about comparing these two things, not comparing, rather kind of discussing why or whether you actually should need either of these things or not. So the base of the whole video is I've been getting these questions on Instagram, not many, but sometimes people do ask, and in some of those videos on my YouTube, people comment that if I go for a mass gainer, and not necessarily this brand, there are many other brands which are even better, sometimes worse. So if I go with the mass gainer, how much do you think I can gain in terms of lean muscle? And some people say, what do you think? I should go with the blend protein, or should I go with the concentrate protein, or should I go with the mass gainer? Because the attractive thing about mass gainer is that those are cheap. Cheap compared to whey protein when you compare them. But then there is this question that why you should need it, whether you should need it or not. So I thought I'd try to address it from my point of view. You could differ with my point of view. That's absolutely fine. Okay. So before we get into the whole topic, I wanted to make sure that we are on the same page. See, we have to first clear some important concept about it. One very important concept. Both of these are supplements. If we call something supplement, that means that's not actually the actual thing that you eat throughout the day. Supplementation means when you have whole food and you got some gap and you can't fill up the gap because of whatever reason, your lifestyle, or you can't really eat that much, or you're not able to source whole food that much, but you have that nutritional gap, then you gotta fill it up with supplementation. That supplementation could be whey protein, that could be some amino acid, that could be something, anything, vitamins, and also it could be mass gainers. So the primary difference, now that we know we're on the same page, that we're not depending on these things, they're just helping us fill up the gaps, all right? Now, if you don't really have a gap, you don't need either of these things. So that's also out of the way. Now, when do you need and why would you need and what should you expect, right? So if you don't work out and you take mass gainer or you take whey protein and you don't work out and you expect that your muscle mass is going to increase by either of these, that's not going to happen, because muscle mass increment happens through hypertrophy, and that's triggered primarily because of strength training. If you don't do that, your body will immediately understand whatever muscle mass it has, it's adequate. It would probably go ahead and decrease some if it needs to, but it don't increase it. So that's also out of the way. We're gonna see, look at the scenario where we work out and we wanna increase our muscle mass, lean mass, what you call, and we have a choice of whey protein or mass gainer. So here's the thing. See, mass gainers, these ones, any brand, they come with a different ratio of protein than whey protein come in. Generally, whey proteins come with only protein. Sometimes they have additives added, but mass gainers come, I'd say the amount of protein they have in there that you can consider as additive. They generally come with a bunch of carb, and most of the time those are either maltodextrin or some sort of modified cornstarch, or sometimes dextrose, whatever it is, but it's some sort of a carbohydrate, and most of the cases it's fast digesting carbohydrate so that it can deliver a lot of energy to you fast. So the whole idea behind mass gainer is to provide you or fill in the blank of your calorie deficiency. So if you're having food, whole food, and you're having, let's say, 300 calorie, that's your target calorie, it doesn't matter, you want to cut, you want to lose weight, you want to gain weight, doesn't really matter. You have a target calorie intake of X amount, and you couldn't meet that by 300 or 400 calories because of whatever reason, and you want to supplement it, just the calorie, right? Then you can go for mass gainer, that's not a problem. But if you see that out of that 300 calorie, you actually need about 40 grams of protein, then this might be a problem, because when you get this thing and you get a couple of scoops or one scoop of it, you get a huge bunch of calories, but you don't get that much of protein. But if you take this one and you get a couple of scoops of these, you get about 260 calories, but you get about 50 grams of protein or so. So depending on what is your gap, the fill in the blank that I talked about, what is it? Is it the protein requirement or is it the calorie requirement? Depending on that, you got to choose either of these two things. They both are directed for different purposes. This is for giving you the protein requirements that you have. It's a whole protein. It's got all the amino acids that you need to build or synthesize muscle. This one has protein, and also in most of the cases the protein is sourced from whey protein, so it's also having whatever protein it has, it's sourcing it as a whole protein, and it's gonna have all the amino acids. But if somehow you overdose on this thing, then the amount of calorie you're gonna get yourself exposed to, the body's not gonna use that, and you'll end up getting fat. There is a saying out there that if you take mass gain or bulk gain or whatever the hell these things are, you're gonna store a lot of fat, and if you take whey protein, you're not gonna store a lot of fat. That's not necessarily true. That's because there's a concept of calorie deficit or calorie surplus, and as long as you're throughout the day kind of in a segregated way, you're in calorie deficit. It doesn't matter where you're sourcing it from. You're probably not gonna put up a lot of fat, right? So, but yeah, the type of calorie providers that are there in mass gainers are not always the right kind. So that's pretty much the difference. I hope I could clarify some of those questions that you might have. If you have more questions, please leave those in the comment section, and I'm always open for discussion. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, of course, leave your comment. But that's what I think it is. All right, so that's pretty much what it is. Thanks a lot for your time, and have an awesome life, folks.